Welcome, students. Today I'm going to share with you more about some of the cultures that lived near Sumer. In fact, for about 1,000 years, these civilizations fought for control in Mesopotamia. So let's begin by talking about Sumer. You took notes already on where Sumer is. Remember, it's right at the end of the Tigris and Euphrates near the Persian Gulf. Today I want you to take notes as you learn about the other cultures. If you need to stop and rewind, you can do that at any time. Sumer was controlled for a long time, and the cultures within Mesopotamia grew up and developed. We talked about the city of Ur and Uruk, and those were all within Sumer. And then another culture came along, and that was the Akkadians. The Akkadians overtook Sumer and became the first empire. It's important to note that they were the first empire. That means they were the first country, if you can call them a country, civilization to control another civilization and bring that civilization into their empire. They lasted about 200 years. And then the Amorites took over. The Amorites later became the Babylonians, and I know you know about that culture, at least you've heard the name. So the Amorites conquered the Akkadians, who had conquered Sumer. Hammurabi is from the Amorites, and when we were in class last, you did an activity about Hammurabi. So that's where he comes from. He was the last, or at least considered to be the greatest emperor of the Amorites. He's responsible for Hammurabi's code. We also need to mention that there was a guy, a ruler of Akkad, and this is Sargon of Akkad. So he is the ruler of the Akkadians, and he is known for being the conqueror who united these areas. So Akkadia was pretty big at the time when they took over Sumer. Okay, moving along. The Amorites, like I said, became the Babylonians, and you can see that Babylon stretched pretty far. The Babylonian Empire expanded the territory through Mesopotamia, really almost all of the Fertile Crescent, and they became a very powerful empire. There's the Code of Hammurabi, and this is a stele or a stele. You can say it either way, stele or stele. This is what the Code of Hammurabi was actually written down on, a rock, basalt, that is very strong, a very strong rock that has lasted thousands of years. The Babylonians also lived near the Hittites, and the Hittites had an empire that was on Anatolia, which if you're looking at this, you can see Anatolia stretches into the Mediterranean. Everything that is to the east of Anatolia belonged to the Babylonians. The Hittites were very powerful, and you might know a little bit about them. They were known for using iron first in their weapons and in their chariots. They were very strong and very warlike. Iron is that heavy metal that you probably have a pot at home that is cast iron, and it's the heaviest pot in the kitchen, and your parents probably don't wash it, they just wipe it out, and it's kind of black and crusty looking, but it's great for cooking certain things. That's iron. So the Hittites were good at using that and really strong heavy metal, which helped them in battle. But they could not overtake Egypt. Keep that in mind, Egypt is still going strong below them. Alright, so moving on, there is another group that's also living in this area, and that's the Phoenicians. Phoenicia is the area that's right along the Mediterranean Sea. The Phoenicians were not very warlike. They were interested in trading, and you can see why. From their area, they could easily trade across the Mediterranean Sea. They could trade with Greece, they could trade with Asia Minor, and they could trade with Egypt very easily and other parts of Africa. So the Phoenicians developed a trading culture. They are known for some important things. Maybe you've wondered why the color purple is considered a royal color. That's thanks to the Phoenicians. There was a sea snail in the Mediterranean that the Phoenicians discovered could be used to make a beautiful purple dye, and it became very sought after and very expensive. You can see in this picture what the snail looks like and what that dye ends up looking like. They also invented a fairly successful ship, and the Phoenicians were known for sailing the Mediterranean waters very successfully and navigating very far. We're not sure how far. We know they went at least to Asia and to India, and there are some people that wonder if they even went all the way to North America, but we don't have a lot of evidence for that. Also, the Phoenicians are important because they use an alphabet similar to ours. Instead of being a pictograph alphabet or an ideograph, they use a phonographic alphabet.
May I have your attention, please?
Sorry, there was an announcement. The alphabet that the Phoenicians use is a phonetic alphabet. Maybe you've heard of Hooked on Phonics or other programs that help kids learn by sound. That's what a phonetic alphabet is. That's what we have. We sound out sounds that then stand for parts of words. So we don't learn characters like you would in China that would mean a complete word. We learn sounds and then they make up parts of words. So this is true for the Phoenicians, and we get some of our alphabet from them. Greek and Latin then developed out of the phonetic alphabet. All right, moving along. Assyria is the next empire that really dominated in the Near East, and the Assyrian Empire is enormous. It stretches even down into Egypt in its greatest time. It's very powerful, highly military, and very, very ruthless. You can see some of the pictures, lots of horseback, bows and arrows, and you can see that they are not very gentle with their captives. All right, moving along. As the Assyrians continue, they decide to get rid of Babylon, and Babylon was near where not too far from where Sumer was. And they decide that Babylon is not going to be their capital, and they begin a new capital. Let me point it out on this map. Their capital is Nineveh. Maybe you've heard of that. That's a famous city from some ancient stories in ancient religions, like in Judaism and in Christianity. Nineveh is located in the center of the Assyrian Empire. There is one king who's very famous, and he is the last of the great kings. His name is King Ashurbanipal, and he creates a library at Nineveh. Let me spell his name for you so that you can write it down. His name is King Ashur, Ashurbanipal. Ashurbanipal. So he creates a library at Nineveh and is still known to this day. A lot of it has been found and uncovered. It is where modern Iraq is today. All right, next of the groups we have, I wanted to give you a little bit more information about the Assyrians. They are conquered by a group called the Chaldeans. And as the Chaldeans conquer them, they begin an empire that is smaller than the Assyrian Empire, but it's still large in its reach. It still covers a lot of Mesopotamia. And they call it New Babylon Empire, so it reestablishes Babylon as their capital. So you can see no more Nineveh, we're back to Babylon. And the Chaldeans have a ruler who I bet you've heard the name of. His name is Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. Let me spell that for you. Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. And he is probably the most famous king. Here he is. He is rumored, you've probably heard of, one of the great wonders of the world, to have created the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Now, they weren't really hanging. Scientists and historians think that they probably were built on terraces like this. You can see on top of buildings where they kind of leaned down and created this beautiful, picturesque view. And that was supposedly all through Babylon. We're not sure. Plants and animals' material die off a lot quicker than stones can crumble, and so we don't have a lot of evidence to be sure that there were hanging gardens. But that is what we are told about the Chaldean kings. Those empires and those people groups are going to be essential for you to know, as well as Sumer. When we come to class next, we will talk about the Hebrews, and they are another important people group that do not form a large empire, but are really important to this history. So come to class ready to take notes about the Hebrews, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.